we are going to edit or mark one of my students' writing. So he sent me this yesterday. I gave him this picture here of a car crash, and he had to write a story. So he's given me permission to mark it live in front of anyone watching, but we're going to keep him and his name anonymous. I want to show you the color code that we're using. So as I mark it, we are going to use red for any words to delete, green for word order, so change the word order, orange if there's a tense problem or maybe a grammar problem that's not word order. Blue means I'm just going to fix it because it's too difficult to explain through colors. Pink means I don't understand and it's too complicated, so the student needs to take another look at that. Yellow is a suggestion to make it sound more natural, so it's probably grammatically correct, but if I mark it yellow, then it's a suggestion to make it sound more natural. And turquoise is spelling. And of course, can you please subscribe this way? Subscribe to Coastline English on YouTube, because I think if I reach 1,000 subscribers, then I can go live on YouTube, which will be quite useful. So let's show you the writing. Okay, here we go. It has been raining for over an hour and I hate driving in the rain. That's fine, that's good. Sets the scene. The drops, I like that, the drops, like the drops of rain. The drops hit the windshield with rhythm. Nice. My guts are ready to reenact a scene from a Goofy movie, but my mind is not really listening to my guts. Good. Wonderful. There is a roadblock ahead and we are invited to slow down. For invited, I would maybe change that. So what color are we using? Vocabulary, purple. I would change invited. I understand what it means, but I would change it for something like told. We are told to slow down. My phone keeps ringing, one call after the other. I would probably change this to another. So one call after another. But today, I am not going to answer to a single one. I'd maybe delete two. So, but today I'm not going to answer a single one. I'm not going to answer a single one. The man with brightest, so here we need the man with the brightest high visibility vest I have ever seen invites us to slow down more. As if, I mumble. Nice, I like that. The man with the brightest. So let's change that. So insert word is brown. The man with the brightest high visibility vest I've ever seen invites us to slow down more. As if, I mumble. I realised after going through this with the student that there's another invite which we need to change. So it says, the man with the brightest high visibility vest I have ever seen invites us to slow down more. It's not really an invitation where you can say, no, I don't want to slow down more. So it would be better if we put the man told us to slow down more. Or the student wanted to use signalled, so kind of used hands to say slow down through his hand gestures. So I thought maybe gestures. The man gestures us to slow down more, like gestures like this, to slow down more. Or maybe signals. He wanted to use signs, like kind of uses sign language to tell them to slow down more. But we don't really use the man signs us to slow down. But you can say signals or gestures. The traffic light ahead just turned red. I increased the volume of the radio. So maybe instead of increase, I would put turn up. So let's make that purple. So I would put, I turn up the volume of the radio. Maybe on the radio. I turn up the volume on the radio. I turn up the volume of the radio. No, ob is good. but I don't even have the time to enjoy the track that is playing. Maybe this needs to change to because or when, but because we have but here, but I don't even have the time to enjoy the track that is playing when I hear, or because I hear a loud bang and my car is pushed forward. Maybe because here. I increase the volume of the radio, but I don't even have the time to enjoy. I would maybe delete the, but I don't even have time to enjoy the track that is playing. Yeah, I would possibly delete the, but it's not a big problem. To enjoy the track that is playing because I hear a loud bang and my car is pushed forward. I'll delete because I want you to think of it. So you need to change that to either because or when, but I think because works better.
We went with when in the end, which is very similar, but the student wanted when, which was a good choice. Also, where it says, and my car is pushed forwards, I think we changed that to my car is knocked forward or banged forward, or maybe we did that later where it says something similar about being pushed forward. We wanted something that indicates a bit more impact, like more like a crash, rather than just being pushed is a much softer kind of description of what's happening.
Deep breaths and count to 10. I repeat in my head, remembering what Dr. Patel told me a few weeks before. I would potentially change before to ago. Told me before, a few weeks before. It's okay though, but I would maybe change it to a few weeks ago. Sometimes a single second can change your reaction. Do a favor to yourself, count to 10. So here we need to change the word order. So it should be do yourself a favor. So we need to delete that actually. So that will be delete. And then, so we need to switch those. I am always amazed by the peace and calm. I'm always amazed by the peace and calm that man gives me. Okay. 23, 24, 25. And I am brought back to reality by a very grey man that aggressively knocks on my window. He has an umbrella that could shelter a family of 7, a suit perfectly ironed and still surprisingly dry. Maybe here you need and a suit, because I thought it was going to say more like a suit's perfectly ironed and not just and surprisingly dry, because that describes the suit, but like maybe here you were going to write and a hat, blah, blah, blah. Because we're finishing the list here, we're just listing 2 things, an umbrella and a suit. So he has an umbrella and a suit, but we're putting in an umbrella that could shelter a family of 7, which I like the detail there. So I think we need and here. So that's brown for insert word. He reminds me of the angry young man from that old Billy Joel tune. So you would either need to change it to delete this. So you could delete the apostrophe S, or change the word order. It depends what you mean. So he reminds me of the angry old man from that old Billy Joel tune, or from Billy. So hang on, if we're not doing that, then you would need to delete that and then move that. So you'd need to change the word order. So then it would be from Billy Joel's old tune. So either change it to, if you want to keep the apostrophe S, then change it to from Billy Joel's old tune, or I think it would be better to make it that old Billy Joel tune. I think it would be better to delete the apostrophe S, personally. So there's the 2 different possibilities. He angrily, okay, so we've got angry and angry. I mean, that's not a grammatical problem, just for story writing, it kind of, I remember I just read angry. So we had aggressively, so we had aggressively, and then here angrily, but for me, we've just said angry, so it sounds a little bit like repetitive that you've just heard that kind of word in a slightly different form. But it's not grammatically a problem. He angrily invites me to roll down my window. Maybe you could say assertively if you want it, because then you could have aggressively, angry, assertively. So kind of keep changing the word that they all mean angry or angrily. So possibly, so I'll put suggestion, assertively. But that's just a suggestion. It's not necessary. So he angrily or assertively invites me to roll down my window. Again, invites, I wouldn't use invites here because he's not really, the choice isn't like yes or no, do you want to invite it down? He means like he's angry, he's aggressive, he's telling you, like I would put either demands or he tells me to roll down my window, but we've got tells here, we are told to slow down. So maybe demands. So I'll put that as suggestion because I mean, you could have invites. It's kind of interesting, but it sounds too soft compared to the aggression and anger. Roll down my window. Okay. I don't roll down my window, but if you're keeping invites, then maybe to make it kind of funny, you could put I decline his invitation and refuse to roll down my window. I decline his invitation and refuse to roll down my window. That would sound good. So maybe keep invites in that case. I don't know. It's up to you. So maybe I'll put this as another suggestion. So instead of this, but firmly and slowly, I get out of my car. As soon as I stand in front of him, he starts talking fast and belligerently. Excellent word. I let him speak while I try to assess the situation. So I stopped at the red light several seconds later. I think this was meant to be I heard a bang. I heard. So change that to I. I'll let you do that. Heard a bang and my car was pushed forward. Maybe knocked forward instead of pushed forward. But push does work. I'll do it as a suggestion. Knocked forward. The man points out his car. Maybe points to his car. The man points to his car. The man points out his car. I would put the man points to his car. Like the man points to his car. He hit me and blames me for it. I notice there is another car behind his. The angry young man with his umbrella that could foster a family of 7. Oh, right, okay, so it's like quite a long description repeating him from before. So it's like instead of having a name for him, he's known as the angry young man with his umbrella that could foster a family of 7. Okay. He's now furiously, so another good word for angry, furiously banging on the window of the car behind his. Okay. So he's just going around to everybody trying to blame them, I guess. In the car, there is a woman. In the car, there is a woman. She seems shocked and still struggles to realize what has just happened. The angry young man with his perfectly ironed suit, okay, nice, is shouting and orders her to leave the car. To leave the car, I would change to get out of her car. He's shouting and orders her to get out of her car. From the back seat of the woman's car, I can hear a baby crying. So I say to the angry young man with his perfectly ironed suit, an umbrella. Maybe here we should change this to and an umbrella. So delete. I say to the angry young man with his perfectly ironed suit and an umbrella that can shelter, maybe could is better, that could shelter a family. How did we have it before? Yeah, could, here. I think could is better. So change that to could, that could shelter a family of 7 to shut up. I am now trying to talk to the woman. She is now crying. She shows her phone to us. I would potentially say she shows us her phone, but she shows her phone to us. It's fun. She shows her phone to us. She does not speak our language, and she is trying to communicate to us through the translator on her phone. The man, meanwhile, called the police. The man, meanwhile, called the police. So we need to change maybe where we're putting meanwhile. So that's word order is green, I believe. Yeah. The man, meanwhile. So I would put meanwhile, the man started calling the police, or meanwhile, the man called the police. It's fine, actually. But I would just change meanwhile. I mean, you could put commas. The man, meanwhile. No, I don't like that, actually. Just meanwhile, the man called the police. I feel the entire city knows he has called the police. He is proving my patience. He's proving my patience. Maybe he is testing my patience, because you're saying you're getting impatient. Or he is proving my impatience, but I would just say he is testing my patience. Or he is starting to test my patience. He is testing my patience. I notice the woman is bleeding and the child is shaking in terror. I run to my car to fetch my first aid kit. The angry young man with the perfectly ironed suit and the umbrella that could shelter, so could is purple. So that's okay. That could give shelter to a family of 7 follows me shouting. Shouting. The police is coming. I think it's the police are coming, because it's the countable, uncountable thing. The police are coming and you are not going anywhere. I have all the reasons to leave. This is not my fault. I fetch my kit and head back to the woman's car. Don't you dare run away. You are going to pay every single dime for the damage you made. Look at my car. Oh, well, let's change this. So instead of made, it's a different word. So for the damage you caused. I'm sorry, Dr. Patel. I tried to keep it cool, but this guy has long passed my limits. I turn around, I punch the angry young man in the face, and I'm finally free to reach the woman's car. Oh, right. So this was the angry man. So as you're trying to head back to the woman's car, the angry man shouts at you, don't you dare run away. I turn around, I punch. It'd be better if you just say, I turn around and punch. I turn around and punch the angry young man in the face. And I'm finally free to reach the woman's car. More people are stopping by to help. More people are stopping by. Maybe just stopping to help. Or maybe more passers-by are stopping to help. Just more people are stopping to help. So let's make that red. The police are here. So hang on, I turn around and I punch. Maybe you don't need I again. I turn around and punch the angry young man. They are taking care of the woman and of the baby. You don't need of there. So just they are taking care of, because we've got an of here. They are taking care of the woman and the baby. That's fine. It's not like a big problem, because you could have, to add emphasis, you could say they are taking care of the woman and of the baby, but it's kind of unnecessary. But they also called an ambulance. Okay, so this they is the police, because the police are here. Okay, so the police are taking care of them, but an ambulance will come soon and do that. Okay. I hand my emergency kit over to the police agent, who is now medicating the woman. His colleague is asking me questions about what happened. Officer, there's not much I can say. I was waiting for the traffic light to turn green, and in a few seconds, I heard a loud bang, and a man was at my car shouting at me. Fine. The angry young man with his not so perfectly nice. Okay, so now it kind of flips a bit. The angry young man with his not so perfectly ironed suit, without his umbrella that could shelter a family of 7, has now. I don't think it's technically a mistake, but the word order would be better if it's now has a bleeding. It sounds more old-fashioned, but has now, maybe like older writing, an older writing style would be has now a bleeding. Sounds more Shakespearean. Has now a bleeding nose. It sounds very formal. Now has a bleeding nose and is recounting his version to the police. with the permission from the police officer, I am free to go. So delete the, so just with permission from the, with permission from the police officer, I am free to go. Or you could change this to of, so with the permission of the police officer. Maybe that's what you meant actually. So maybe if you change this to of, then you could keep the, with the permission of the police officer. The only problem is then you've got two thes, which is okay. It's just, if you just said, with permission from the police officer, I'm free to go, but you can choose. So with the permission of the police officer, I'm free to go. With permission from the police officer, I am free to go. Either way. I received a phone call 3 days later. The police officer informed me, we need here, informed me of what happened. Do we need had happened? Make it perfect. The police officer informed me of what had happened. It depends if we're talking about what happened at the crash or, yeah, we are. She fell asleep. Okay, so what had happened? So change the tense of this. I guess from past simple to past perfect. The lady who recently moved to the city, so again, who had recently moved to the city, fell asleep while driving and she lost control of the car. Maybe of her car, but of the car a second. She's happy that her child didn't get hurt. The most interesting thing of the situation, I would change this to about. The most interesting thing about the situation though, is that the angry young man was driving his car with an expired insurance. I thought you were going to say with an expired license, but if it's insurance, then we don't put ends. Was driving his car with expired insurance. So yeah, delete and so he won't get any money back to fix his car. In addition, the angry young man hadn't paid his tickets for the last 3 years and was forced to make up for it. Nice, or was forced to pay the fines maybe? To make up for it sounds like he'll have to make up for it through like community service or some other way than paying for it. But if that's what you mean, then it's not grammatically wrong. So there you go. That is the story color-coded for you to correct. I've put in some suggestions, but you don't have to use them. It would be good if here it just explained it's explicitly who is saying this to who. I did work it out in the next paragraph though, but it's as a reader, it's kind of a bit complicated if you're not in that moment, you're not quite sure of who's saying it to who. But I'm really happy with it. It took us all the way down here before there was sort of a tense problem. And even there, I don't think it's... The police officer informed me of what happened. The lady who recently moved... So it's not... you don't need to make it past perfect. It's still fine. I just think it's better, especially what had happened. I think that definitely does need to be past perfect, actually. But this one, who recently moved to the city, who had recently moved to the city, it's not a major problem, but it's incredible that we got all the way down there. I mean, here the police are coming. That's a countable, uncountable thing. So not really. But the grammar is amazing. Like how comfortable you are using the way the story goes between, being in the present moment and past simple to describe things. It's very confidently written in terms of grammar. Like all of the mistakes, or nearly all of the mistakes, are just some vocabulary choices, a tiny bit of word order, a couple of tiny things to delete. But yeah, this is really good. Really, really good. Okay, so have a look at the changes and feel free to send it back, but they're not really major things. So I don't think it doesn't really need sending back. I don't think. Just take a look at it and we can discuss a couple of the minor points. All right. So hopefully the people watching have found this useful. It's meant I've got my marking done, which is good. But I'll potentially do more of these if it's useful for anybody.
So get in touch with me if you want me to mark your writing, and please give me permission to use it for another video, because then other people can learn from it as well. So don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel because I've got lots more content coming soon to help you improve your English.